Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number, I'm gonna guess 703 off the top of my head here, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on, I'm not sure if you heard that additional noise there in the background. That was my bad. Do, 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 do. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, almost into August already. And it looks like it's going to be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. A little bit of cloud in the sky, but I see the sun making an effort here. And hopefully it will be a good day. A couple of days ago, they were forecasting rain for the entire day, which would not necessarily have been a bad thing, to be totally honest, because we do kind of need it. Fortunately, we've had a couple of cloud bursts over the past couple of days, which have helped a little bit. They've certainly filled our rain barrels for the garden, so we're very grateful for that. But yeah, we could use a little more, and it seems that if there's going to be any, it's not going to be a while yet. For some reason, all summer long, most of the rain that's come in the area, and there has been rain overall, but for some reason, it's just bypassed either right to the south or to the north of us. There's been many days where, a couple of days out. The weather report said it was going to rain all day, and it just didn't happen. We seem to be getting skipped, so I got a little concerned for the farmers in our region where the Beaver Lodge is. The region is about half urban and half rural, and there are some farms in the area, and well, hopefully the rain has hit them, and if it has, avoided us, because considering how dry our lawn is, and how we've had to with the rain barrels running out and everything like this, we've even had to use the sprinkler a couple of times on the garden, which well, let's say we've been here 4 years, and we've had a garden of 3 of the 4 years, and we've never needed a sprinkler before. We always got enough rain either in the evening or whatnot, but this is it's particularly dry, the driest summer I've definitely seen here in the longest time. So hopefully the rain that has missed us at least hit the farmers north and south to us, because it must be a pretty bad situation at the moment if it's anything like here. Oh boy. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Not sure if I said that already. I kind of got off on a little tangent there. But if I did, that's okay. They're so nice, they deserve to be mentioned twice. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health today? Because unfortunately, not with me as usual is my good friend Mr. Grizzly. Very much looking forward to Monday's show, where I will have him with us. But I have a little something from him today, so that I can put in the show, and hopefully bring you a little bit of grizzly, so that way you don't miss them too much. All right, let's look into the magic mirror and see who is with us today. I'm seeing that the light is rather bright here. So let me see if I can make an adjustment while I'm doing that there. That might be a little better. All right. We have Kit Elaine here. Kit Bucky, good morning. Kit Bucky making us laugh already. Kit Uncover the News. Kit Grace is here. Somebody in the chat said, "Good morning, good people." And Bucky was like, "Only the good people? I feel left out." I hear you. Good morning to the slightly tarnished people as well. I see you. You're welcome here. We have Kit Uncover here, bringing us some of the news. Of course, talking us about the BC coast being remaining under tsunami advisory because there was a massive earthquake. I think it was like hit over 8 on the Richter scale, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, which then definitely had yeah, I'm thinking that here. So it was 8.8 quake off off Russia. Wow. And tsunami waves did hit Russia, and they also hit the U.S. West Coast. So I'm going to take a little look at that. Sorry, deviate from the intro here and saying the hellos. Um, yeah, okay. So yeah, thousands of people on Japan's Pacific coast were woken up by sirens alerting them to a tsunami as well. Yeah, okay. Um, I haven't kept up with that story as much as I should have here, but yes, definitely the BC coast remains under tsunami advisory, according to the CBC here. Residents have been urged to avoid shorelines and beaches after a tsunami advisory was issued for multiple parts of the BC coast following a large earthquake in the Pacific Basin near Kamchatka, Russia, on Tuesday afternoon. If you've ever played Risk, you recognize Kamchatka. It's one of the territories in the game. Tsunami activity was expected to cause strong currents and waves in some regions of coastal BC late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, with emergency officials saying that tsunami waves arrive in a series and the first of them may not be the biggest. The US-based National Tsunami Warning Center says there was a magnitude 8.8 earthquake, with BC officials saying it occurred around 135 kilometers southeast of the Russian city of Petropavlovsk around 4:25 p.m. Pacific time. A tsunami advisory upgraded from an earlier watch was issued for BC's north and central coasts, including Kitimat and Bella Coola, Haida Gwaii, and the west and northeast coasts of Vancouver Island. It also spanned the Juan de Fuca Strait from Jordan River to Greater Victoria, including the Saanich Peninsula. A tsunami advisory means residents should move away from the ocean and stay alert for more instructions from officials. Quote, significant inundation is not expected for areas under an advisory, but coastal zones may be at risk due to strong currents, reads an Emergency Info BC advisory. The advisory adds strong waves and currents could drown or injure people who are in the water, and currents at beaches, harbors, marinas, or bays could be especially dangerous. It had earlier advised boat operators in areas under a tsunami watch to move their boats out to sea to a depth of at least 55 meters if time and conditions permit, and avoid shallow water and inlets if they are already at sea. A tsunami warning, which is the highest level, means that residents should move away from the water immediately. Tamai Mulder, an earthquake seismologist with Natural Resources Canada, said that even if forecasted tsunami wave heights were small, people should heed the warnings to stay away from the water. Water is extremely powerful, so please listen to these advisories. Quote, one still wants to be away from the water and the water's edge at that time, she told CBC News late Tuesday night. Quote, because unpredictable things could happen and the currents will be much stronger than normal and the water will be more confused looking than normal. The district of Tofino on the west coast of Vancouver Island said in an emergency notification around 7 p.m. Pacific time that people shouldn't go to the shore to observe the waves, and later told CBC News in an email that it had closed all beaches until further notice. Emergency Info BC says Langara Island off the coast of Haida Gwaii saw tsunami waves around 10:05 p.m., but the wave height was forecast to be less than 30 meters. Early Wednesday, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration updated its tsunami bulletin to include regional observations, and for BC, that included an, quote, observed maximum tsunami height of 27 centimeters at Winter Harbor and 21 centimeters at Tofino. John Cassidy, another seismologist with Natural Resources Canada, said Tuesday's earthquake was the type of seismic movement that was most likely to generate a tsunami. Quote, those waves can travel across the Pacific. They can travel a long way when they're out in the open ocean, he told Jason D'Souza, host of CBC's All Points West, just before 6 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. Quote, the tsunami waves travel at about the same speed as a jet, he added. Whoa, okay, I did not know that. If the magnitude of 8.8 is confirmed, the earthquake would be among the top 10 strongest earthquakes recorded since 1900, according to U.S. Geological Survey. It would be the strongest earthquake since the devastating 2011 earthquake that struck near the Tohoku region of Japan, which had a magnitude of 9.0 and triggered a tsunami wave more than 40 meters high. I believe that's the one that affected the nuclear power center in Japan, and that was a big story then for a good while, because uh, let's just say that the people there did a great job ensuring that things were not much worse than they could have been. Quote, it's a larger earthquake than we've seen in my lifetime anyway, and that's close and could potentially affect our BC coast, said Elmer Frank, chief counselor of the Tlaoquihat First Nation, whose traditional territories encompass Tofino and Ucluelet on Vancouver Island. I hope I pronounced that right. Ucluelet? Frank said Tuesday's earthquake and tsunami scare is a reminder for his community to keep up on emergency drills and preparedness. The U.S. Geological Survey, in an updated measurement on Tuesday evening, said the quake hit at a depth of 20.7 kilometers. In the U.S. state of Hawaii, waves of up to 1.7 meters impacted the islands before the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center reduced its warning level for the state late Tuesday, saying no major tsunami was expected. Quote, initial wave impacts from the leading edge of the tsunami measured several feet at some monitoring stations, but follow-up waves over the next several hours are often larger, said Maui County in a recent update. Cars jammed streets and highways in Hawaii's capital of Honolulu with standstill traffic even in areas away from the shoreline. Ports on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia near the 8.8 magnitude quake's epicenter flooded as residents fled inland, and frothy white waves washed up to the shore in northern Japan. People went to evacuation centers in affected areas of Japan with memories fresh of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that caused reactor meltdowns at a nuclear power plant. Okay, see, there we go. No abnormalities in operations at Japan's nuclear plants were reported Wednesday. That's good. Russian authorities said several people were injured without giving a figure. In Japan, at least one person was injured. So, please heed all warnings if you are on the West Coast. So far, things are looking like they've been okay. But please do listen to all warnings. Safety first. Again, as we keep on saying on the show, we like to have all of you with us, and we like to have all of you keeping back. We want to collect all of you. We want you to keep you with us. So please do what you need to do to remain safe. Never underestimate the power of water. It can be an extremely powerful force, and particularly when tsunamis hit, in areas where, you know, living areas, where everyone in our garage, we have different chemicals and things like that, right? So you definitely don't want to be in the water when things like this happen, because you don't know what else is in there, and it's not good for you. So to get to the highest ground possible, if you are in that area, and or to an evacuation center, and but make sure that you are heeding all warnings, because like I said, water can be extremely destructive, and water can move deceptively quickly. So please stay on alert. This is very, very important. All right. Let's see. What do we have? We interrupted saying hello to the kits and cubs. So let's get back to that. Thank you for bringing us that Kit Uncover. We also have Kit Linda M here, Kit Nona Carol. If I've mentioned you twice because I got you a little earlier, that's okay. We have Kit Elaine with us, Kit Grace, Kit Saucy. Hello. Hello. Nice to see you. Kit Tavi G's with us, and Kit Swanky Frankie is with us today as well. Who else do we have? Kit PNC Bio. Hey, good morning. Nice to see you here. Kid Hyper T007 with his Buen dia gente. Buen dia gente. To all of yours as well. Kit Jen Jen. Hey, how are you? It's so nice to see you this morning. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. We have Kit Mohan here, which means we also have family. Good morning to you. Big hugs to our to Mateo. Hello. Big hugs to Oberon as well. Good morning. Hope you're doing well, little one. Kit Argosi Acres is with us as well. We have Kit Sue with us. Good morning. Haven't seen you here for a little bit. It's so nice that you can join us. Who else do we have? Um, Kit Playing with 3D is with us. Kit Christian, hello. Nice to see you. Uh, Thanks for joining us today. We have Kit Mark with us, who says here, I hope my relatives and everyone in BC is safe, and sends out a kiss. I hope so too, Kit Mark. And thank you for joining us today. Who else do we have here in the chat? Going through, I'm seeing names repeating. Maybe I got everyone already. Oh, no, Kit Sharon. Hello. Nice to see you. Unfortunately, Kit Sharon, I've been seeing your comments. We don't have any WOB content today. We have a couple of people in our chat who thinks that Mr. Canoe is a bit of a hottie. I don't necessarily disagree, just so you know. So no, the there will be no indulging our canoe crushes today, unfortunately. But I hope to bring you more WOB content soon. There's a uh, there might be an unofficial petition going down at the Beaver Lodge for a mandatory 2 minutes of WOB content every day. Because he brings a little bit of sanity, I have to say. Oh my God. Okay, who else do we have here with us this morning? Wow, everybody, you guys are really chatty today. Already got so much going on. Kit Kat W is with us. Good morning to you. And oh, Miss Blue Ocean, hello. Nice to see you today, or formerly Environmental Coffee House, for those who have been listening for a while. And that is everyone I have this morning. So welcome all to the Beaver Lodge. And it's so nice to see you. And thank you for joining us. Okay, kids and cubs. There was some interesting things happened yesterday. Uh, First among them, of course, as usual, when it comes to everything having to do with trade and the like. Um, the messages that we keep on getting from the United States keep on uh, being somewhat confusing and a hot mess. We've got about 2 or 3 days to go here before August 1st and the deadline and the threat of potential 35% tariffs on anything that's not already COSMA compliant, of course. Um, and we had comments a few days ago from IQ47 saying, trying to hint that um, Canada wasn't very much a priority at the moment for the United States. People took that and started running with it as if it was a sign that Canada was important or down the list or all that kind of stuff. And you have to remember, if we're taking the comment that Lisa Raitt said yesterday, that these are not deals. These are announceables coming from someone uh, who basically said, right, how would I put it, that he was going to get 90 deals in 90 days. And that didn't happen. I mean, it really didn't happen. uh, and so now he's established this August 1st deadline, and it's making it sound like he's very, very, very firm. And so now he's announcing all these alleged deals with Japan and Europe and all these other nations, a lot of these deals that the other nations then turn around and say, all these things that you are mentioning here, all these clauses or whatnot, are not things that we've agreed to or we've never heard of before, which is kind of, you know, par for the course. That that he would just say things because Trump does say a lot of things. And with regard to us, the word that he put out, of course, is that we're nasty and we're mean. And then through Carolyn Levitt, difficult. We're not having a lot of luck with our neighbors to the north. They've been proving difficult. Yeah, because we're not going to cave. We're not going to bend over. We're not going to allow ourselves to be bent over a barrel. Right? So yesterday, so after like a couple of days of saying, we're not particularly important, and there might not be a deal with Canada, and I might just have to tariff them. That's the deal. Mackenzie of News, covering Parliament Hill, reports Canada U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Mark Carney's Chief of Staff Marc-André Blanchard are headed to Washington tonight, which is last night, for further meetings in advance of Donald Trump's August 1st deadline. Carney will also have a cabinet meeting today at 2 p.m. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. We're not a priority. We're not a priority. No, not a priority. Canada has nothing we need. But all of a sudden, a couple of days before the deadline, whoops, the trade minister and the chief of staff both are heading to Washington for evening talks a couple of days before. It's like, oh, gee, sounds like we are a priority after all, aren't we? Because if you are uh, with trying to get so many announceables so that his thing isn't a total and complete failure, and if Canada is not being cooperative in wanting to give up the whole house in order to get a deal by some artificial deadline that Donald Trump has established, which has already been pushed back from the other artificial deadline that he agreed to beforehand, which was supposed to be July 21st. And then all the times he's tacoed out of things. Well, why? Right? Why trip over ourselves in order to do that? So it seems that for a nation uh, that's not a priority, they are making time for us. But if they weren't going to get a deal by the first, well, of course, with 200 other nations, to make a deal with, of course, he would be spending his time not focusing on Canada, trying to notch as many announceables as possible to make it look like things are going forward. Again, because you have to remember with Trump, absolutely everything that comes out of his mouth and everything that he has done and everything he is doing is for, right? Who's the main audience? Who's the main consumer? The base of his base, especially with the Epstein things going on. He's got to really feed the base of his base. So look, I got this deal. Look, I got this deal. Look, these auto plants are being built. There's not one auto plant that's being built at the moment. But he keeps on saying that it is, right? It's just that thing from his first mandate. Just say it is, and my people will do the rest, right? Remember that type of comment? So you had pundits here in Canada trying to make it seem like, oh my God, Japan got a deal and European got a deal, but we didn't get a deal. So, wow, we must be doing terribly. Wah, 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 wah. And it's like, well, no, he's trying to rack up announceables. And if we're not going to cooperate and just let him climb on top of us and take what he wants, well, then, of course, we would go to the back of the pile. Because right now, the goal is to score as many announceables by August 1st as possible. But you don't have your point person on the matter and then the prime minister's chief of staff flying to Washington, D.C. in the evening, a couple of days before the deadline, if you're not a priority. and they're not trying to make something happen. So again, when it comes to Donald Trump, more of the story, never listen to what he says because it's always designed for consumption by the base. There's what Donald Trump says to his base, and then there's reality. Right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Uh, if we, I have a feeling that the Prime Minister of Canada is not going to be particularly anxious to do anything by the first, unless it is a good deal at the moment. And again, a surprising comment from Lisa Raitt on the show yesterday, sort of starting to wonder, you know what, mm, maybe there's no point in signing a deal. Let's just deal with the tariffs. This, and then hopefully we'll get a new government in the United States at one point because tariffs are easy to remove than to claw back a concession that you make and then you sign your name to on a piece of paper. So yeah, we'll see. But again, there is action going on behind the scenes. It seems that all that talk about us not being a priority or it's not really important or that he's sort of given up and is just going to slap a tariff might not be exactly true. Now, I do not suspect that there's going to be tariff free. And as we pointed out yesterday, because somebody brought it to my attention, there has never been a tariff free agreement with the United States ever in the history of Canada to start with. Um, but whether or not there'll be action on any of the other tariffs, like the steel and aluminum tariffs, and it seems that because Donald Trump likes to do things through form letter, that 15% is the shakedown rate in order to be able to do business with the United States. I guess that's the type of thing he wants. And I was thinking about it a little bit more yesterday, considering what he's doing with the big beautiful bill and that big tax cut that he wants to give the ultra rich in the United States. He needs this tariff money to fund it because he didn't find enough cuts. So the fact that he seems to be insisting on tariffs for everyone of 15% at a minimum instead of 10 like he had promised originally on Liberation Day as a minimum seems to be a direct consequence of his one big beautiful bill and him needing to find the money to fund that tax cut. So again, when we say that it's trickle up in the United States, he's literally putting a tax on pretty much everything coming from 200 or so countries into the United States to get people to pay more for them so he can take that tax revenue or tariff revenue, pat himself on the back saying he's doing such a good job with it. And then he's allegedly talking about all these factories and stuff that he's going to build, but he's taking all of that tariff money and it's just funneling it up the economic chain to the most rich, the people who need it less, as a big, beautiful tax cut. And he's not going to be taking that money and investing it in industry and to build those auto plants and all that kind of stuff that he's claiming are happening. So at some point, people are going to wake up to the fact of all of that tariff money is only going to one spot and hasn't really benefited them. And when that happens, it's going to be a little bit dicey for the president, I would. There's also other things going on in the background. One of the Canadian strategies appears to be, while it seems that we are not able to resolve anything with the United States and we need to stand strong, we are quietly in the background resolving tariff and trade irritants with a whole bunch of other countries. Yesterday, according to David Ljunggren, who's a correspondent with Reuters Canada, um, Australia has lifted a 22-year-old ban on the import of Canadian beef and beef products, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency said in a statement on Tuesday. Now, I do not know if this might have something to do with, first of all, Australian beef. Very, very good. Australians love their beef. um, so I'm not sure if they needed to import U.S. beef to make up for demand because there may not be enough in Australia. But if that happens to be the case, then that would be Australia canceling its beef orders from the United States and replacing them with some from Canada, which is Well, let's put it this way. At least they can be sure that our meat is inspected. And I'll leave it at that. Right. Uh, so again, a more reliable partner, more reliable standards. But this is a 22-year-old ban on the import of Canadian beef and beef products that has been lifted. So that is a good thing. And hopefully, I'll be able to find out more news about that because this was just a statement on Twitter without a related news article. But previously to that as well, this was July 18th, New Zealand reached a deal with Canada in a long running dairy trade dispute. So Canada has agreed to allow access for New Zealand dairy products following a long-running trade dispute. Trade Minister Todd McClay says, and I'm guessing that's the Trade Minister for New Zealand. Dairy exporters had been blocked from the Canadian market despite the move being in breach of the CPTPP trade agreement. On Friday morning, McClay announced an agreement had been reached. He says Canada is committed to making changes to its dairy quotas, which will deliver up to $157 million to New Zealand dairy exporters. New Zealand initiated formal dispute settlement proceedings over restricted access to the Canadian market for dairy exports under the CPTPP, in 2022. I keep on calling it CPP because of the pension. A dispute panel found in New Zealand's favor. However, Canada failed to fully comply with the panel's ruling. New Zealand threatened further action last year, including the imposition of retaliatory tariffs against Canadian exporters. Quote, the government is pleased that this dispute has now been settled and New Zealand exporters are guaranteed better access to the Canadian market, McClay said. Canada said the changes have been negotiated with close consultation with its dairy sector and the amendments will result in minor policy changes. In a statement, Canadian Agriculture Minister Heath MacDonald said it was, quote, a mutually satisfactory resolution. Under the agreement, Canada is committed to changing the way it administers its dairy quotas under CPTPP, including faster and more efficient access to quotas for New Zealand exporters, reallocation of underused quotas, and penalties for importers who misuse quotas. Quote, the CPP is a world-leading agreement that unlocks significant opportunities for all parties, but its obligations must be upheld. Today's agreement reinforces support for the rules-based trading system, McClay said. He added, Canada was a long-standing friend and trading partner of this country, and, quote, constructive engagement had brought about a resolution. Wow, there you go. So yeah, there was a party, the ACT party, and I do not know if that's the party that is represented, that Todd McClay represents, or if it's another party, because I'm not as familiar with New Zealand politics. But it says last year, the ACT party trade spokesperson, Dr. Pramjit Pamar, called the dispute, quote, a betrayal of our friendship, saying that if Canada could not comply with the CPTPP, it should be, quote, booted out of the deal. That was last year. Things have changed. So yeah, it seems that we are not only trying to make it such that we come to some type of agreement with New Zealand, their trade disputes. With regard to the beef issue with Australia, Ari Rabinovich of Global News says that the CFIA, that's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, announced that previous restrictions on imports from countries including Canada to Australia have been lifted. Quote, regained access offers not only economic potential for Canadian farmers and processors, but also contributes to global food security by providing more international consumers access to premium quality Canadian beef. By opening access to premium markets like Australia, Canadian producers can increase exports, generating new revenue streams that fuel investments, sustain jobs, and support local economies from coast to coast. The statement notes that in 2003, Australia imposed restrictions on Canadian beef, which was also the case for countries like the United States, due to the discovery of cases of BSE, or bovine spongiform encephalopathy. I almost had it. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy. There we go. Or BSE, more commonly known as mad cow disease. Many other countries have slowly started lifting such import restrictions, citing the reduced risk, with Canada's risk level being classified as negligible since 2021 by the World Organization of Animal Health. Quote, as exporters, we expect each other to treat each other like we want all the markets, our customers, their customers. We want science-based trade rules everywhere, and we want to see them walking that talk as well. So it's nice to see that happen, says General Manager Ryder Lee at the Canadian Cattle Association. Quote, we've gotten into most markets, but there's still a few left that have some restrictions around BSE. And every time you remove one of those countries from that list, that's another way to add to your case when you're talking to an importing country. Canada's global exports of agriculture and agri-food, not including fish and seafood, in 2024 was $92.2 billion compared to $91.6 billion in 2023, according to the statement. Quote, Canada is known around the world for producing top quality beef, and that's a testament to the hard work of our producers, said Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Heath MacDonald, in the statement. Strengthening our trade ties with Australia, one of our key partners in the Indo-Pacific, means more opportunities for Canadian farmers and processors to grow their business, create good jobs, and build up our economy. The Government of Canada is absolutely committed to supporting the industry as we open new doors, drive growth, and showcase the best of Canada to the world. It's not clear how much Canada's annual revenue from beef exports could increase with Australia becoming another importer, and a global news request for comments sent to the CFIA had yet to receive a response, according to this article. So there we go. A little action here, a little action there. Removal of a trade irritant there, opening up of a new market there. You do that many times over, and suddenly you're talking about some real money. So again, the parallel tracks that we are mentioning here about trying to negotiate with the United States to get the best deal possible as quickly as possible, but not at any price and not by any artificial deadline. And then at number two, on the other track, reorientation of our economy and diversification of our trade partners, which seems to include reducing or eliminating any trade irritants with other nations that are more, what's the word? Reasonable. Honest brokers, perhaps, tethered to reality, also would be another term that we could use. Normal, not weird. So yeah, it seems that clearly we're able to make agreements and resolve disputes with other nations. So if we're not able to do it with the United States, it's not because we are the ones who are not able to do it, because we're clearly showing that we can, right? Interesting. There's also been a little bit of development with regard to the Israel and Gaza issue, in that many nations around the world are starting to exert more pressure on the government of Israel. Government of France announced, I think, that it was indeed going to recognize Palestinian statehood. The government of the UK came out yesterday and delivered an interesting ultimatum, in that if Israel would not do what was necessary to ensure that aid starts flowing, and flowing in a manner that is not just by droplet, because we're getting reports not only of impending famine, if not already famine, in the area. A lot images of emaciated people are coming to the surface, and it's getting to the point now that even aid workers in the region, aid workers from developed nations, right, like Canada and whatnot, are trying to deliver the aid with only one meal a day, because there's the food's not getting to them either. So other nations are starting to ratchet up pressure. So the UK was stating that, that if aid is not coming in a manner that is significantly better than this is the case, that it too would just go ahead and recognize Palestinian statehood. Canada's position has always been that it wants to recognize a two-state. It's a pro-two-state solution and wants to recognize it, but would only recognize a Palestinian state once things had happened for it to be created. that things got better and that would actually be created and actually had a government that we could recognize, or governing structure that we could recognize. And it seems that we are also um, looking, or at least publicly reconsidering, recognizing the Palestinian state, according to Marco Vigliotti, the editor-in-chief of iPolitics. The federal Liberal government is considering recognizing Palestinian statehood, but only if certain conditions are met, of course. So not as forward down the path as France is, was basically saying, yeah, we're doing this. The UK, um, if you don't do this, we will recognize it. This one is slightly different in the sense that, uh, you know, moving from we're not, we want to recognize Palestinian statehood, but we will not until there actually is a Palestinian state. We won't do it in advance to, yeah, we might. So the Liberal caucus source said that the Prime Minister's office wouldn't move forward without assurances that Hamas would play no role in a future Palestinian government and the return of the remaining hostages the terror group took during its brutal attack against Israel in October 2023. iPolitics is not identifying the source because they're not authorized to speak publicly on the matter. When reached, the Prime Minister's office refused to comment. CBC News first reported the Liberal government was considering recognizing Palestine earlier on Tuesday. Prime Minister Mark Carney is convening a virtual cabinet meeting on Wednesday to discuss the situation in the Middle East, according to his office. The other topic of the meeting will be trade negotiations with the U.S., of course. Carney on Tuesday spoke to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and his office said Carney reiterated that Canada, quote, remains unwavering in our call for Hamas to release all hostages and that Hamas can play no role in the governance of a Palestinian state. The two also, quote, discussed the need for international cooperation to ensure the urgent provision of humanitarian aid to starving civilians in Gaza, according to a readout of the meeting provided by the PMO. The conversation came hours after Starmer said the United Kingdom would recognize Palestine in September if Israel doesn't agree to a ceasefire in Gaza and allows the UN to provide aid to residents in the territory, in addition to other efforts to ensure peace in the region. And the the demand that the UN provide aid to residents comes from the fact, as we mentioned on a previous show, that it seems that the government of Israel has established a private firm of some kind, or has hired a private firm of some kind, along with, it seems, with the blessing of the United States, to deliver that aid. And since that has happened, um, well, not only is it worse, but a lot of people are dying in the process of trying to access that aid, being shot. And a lot of people are basically accusing the government of Israel, the Netanyahu administration, of using starvation as a weapon of war and using aid distribution centers as a way to, well, drag people out, lure people out from where they are taking refuge and taking their shot at eliminating them permanently, which is very, very disgusting, to say the least. There are no words. Practice. France said last week it would recognize a Palestinian statehood, but without conditions. French President Emmanuel Macron said Friday there was, quote, no alternative to recognizing the state of Palestine, and he intends to do so at the UN General Assembly in September. When asked last week, Carney wouldn't commit to following France, but reiterated Canada's support for a two-state solution. The Liberal government also announced it was providing $10 million to support the Palestinian Authority's preparations to lead a globally recognized country that includes Gaza and the West Bank, as well as an additional $30 million for humanitarian efforts. And also, Macron, on a side note, flexing some muscle, because it appears that in the United States, he has launched a lawsuit against far-right commentator Candace Owens for defamation. She has been saying for a long time that his wife Brigitte is a man, has always been a man, and she won't stop saying it. And it seems that they have decided to sue, and I hope that this becomes a trend where world leaders start to sue these operations that keep on making these claims over and over and over again, because money and power appears to be the only language that they understand. So the only solution in that case is to not get mad, but get everything, make it completely unprofitable for them to be able to ply in the trade of lies and conspiracies by suing them for everything they're worth. when they go too far. So hopefully he will be successful, and hopefully that will be a beginning of a trend. Because it would be nice, because I'm sure that there's a certain number of people. Um, I'm not sure if Prime Minister Trudeau would take advantage of the opportunity should it come along, but uh, a lot has been said about him that he could definitely sue for if we're talking about defamation. Um, Also, of course, tongues wagging. Um, Talk about the former prime minister. Apparently, he's out on vacation and was doing some rappelling or rock climbing and stuff like that. And uh, the National Post felt the need uh, to make a story of that. Private citizen goes on vacation. Of course, everybody lost their mind. Of course, a lot of terrible things still being said, like I'm seeing stuff on social media, like, I've never prayed more for a rope to break or carabin to break or whatnot. Has anybody advised him to jump? Right. So, all the nasty stuff. And then the other little tidbit is that it seems that um, Justin Trudeau had dinner with Katy Perry while in Montreal. Some people are referring to it as a date. Don't have enough information for that. Could just be, someone famous in town taking the time to meet with someone famous and then chatting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic date. Could have just been a date, right? As in a get together. But yes, apparently they were seen at a swanky restaurant eating together. And then, of course, that got tongues wagging as well. Yeah, Justin Trudeau, private citizen, has dinner with Katy Perry, uh, goes on vacation, and apparently people still need to write about that. And then apparently there's a segment in Canada that apparently still needs to get mad about stuff like that. Thus proving that the mind is the greatest prison, and that there are going to be some people that are going to be stuck forever in 2022. And that's just the way it's going to be. Now, I know it's silly, but it's nice to see that the former prime minister is still living in so many heads rent free. Yikes. All right. Of course, what we came for today. There was a candidate forum in Battle River-Crowfoot yesterday. Yes. Yes. It would appear that it did. The Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce hosted a candidate forum yesterday, and 10 candidates did show up. I'm not sure, and I did not get the impression from what I heard of the debate on stage that any of the longest ballot committee candidates showed up. But there were indeed 10 candidates. And just to give a little shout out to them, because, as we say, democracy is something that you do. And these people did come out to do democracy. So there was a gentleman named Grant Abraham, who, if you listen to this show and if your political views are a bit in line with the sort of broad middle, we like to say that if you're anything from a traditional progressive conservative to a green, you're going to find something on this show that you might like. You might not agree with everything, but you'll find something, and you can find the information useful. Again, we say take the best and leave the rest. And if you're a little more to the extreme left or to the extreme right of that, most likely you hate watch us. Most likely, but you can still get something from the facts and the analysis if you care to, and you're certainly welcome here to be here, as long as you respect house rules, of course, right? Because you're a guest in our home, and so long as you're willing to abide by our rules, everyone is welcome, right? And hopefully you can get something out of the show too. But odds are you get fewer views that will align with your biases if you're further left than green, or further right than progressive conservative. So this Grant Abraham person would probably be way outside, to put it diplomatically. The general range that the show would attract. Then we had Mr. Jonathan Bridges from the PPC, also probably out of the range that the show typically attracts. Bonnie Critchley, who was there. A gentleman named Michael Harris, who identifies as a libertarian candidate, younger libertarian candidate, full of you know what and vinegar. um, uh, Sometimes you hear him speak, and this sounds patronizing as an older person, and it probably is patronizing, but sometimes you hear people that are younger and libertarians speak, and you think, yeah, call us in 20 years and see if you still believe it. So there was a little bit of that. But if you're into what it is that he's into politically, acquitted himself well, if we're being fair. A gentleman named Ashley McDonald from the Greens, who was there, Pierre Poilièvre, of course, he did decide to show up. And for some reason, Garnet Genuous was announcing all over the web, "Hey, people, we've organized a bus. Come and see it." The day before, and it's like, Mr. Genuous, are you not aware that the tickets for these have been sold out for a while now? So I'm not, unless there were people that already had tickets that were taking a free ride down there on the bus that Garnet Genuous had organized. I'm not sure um, where the people on the bus would have gone once they got there because there were no seats. Huh. Conservative Party bringing someone, Conservative Party person bringing people to a place where there are no seats for them to watch a guy who has no seat. Kind of tracks, doesn't it? Okay. Then there was Darcy Spady, who was the Liberal Party candidate, Sarah Spanier, who was an independent candidate, and you may have heard of her a little bit on the news of late. Catherine Swampy. I'm not sure if she's the NDP candidate, but she did mention the name of the party a couple of times, so I'm thinking that might be the case. And then Jeff Willerton from the Christian Heritage Party was there. It was about an hour and a half session, I would say, that had an opening comment and a closing comment, about 2 minutes, and then they were asked questions on affordability and economic security, immigration and population growth, government accountability and responsibility, um, healthcare, electoral reform, agricultural and rural development, and education and workforce development. So those were the themes that were carried. It wasn't a debate per se because there wasn't a lot of interaction or planned interaction back and forth. So it was more like a question was asked and then we went down the line and got their answers. So a 2-minute statement, opening and closing, then a 1-minute answer for each of the questions. So of course, um, not big on depth, right? There wasn't really much time to develop stuff. Um, I watched it. It was as informative as it can be when you have just 1 minute. So it's a lot of the answers are rattling off of a list of things or trying to make an impact with a statement that hopefully would uh, get picked up and carried somewhere or somehow or get you some attention. Um, but uh, there was enough, right? Some of the differences between the candidates were stark enough on their own, contrast wise, to be able to see where people were coming from, even if you couldn't get in depth into certain subjects. But it was surprising in the sense that a lot of candidates um, that personally would never get my vote and probably wouldn't even consider for my vote did have some things to say, however, uh, that were interesting and sometimes even constructive or pointing to an actual legitimate problem. Um, if in a overblown way or with a draconian solution that wouldn't work, but properly identifying an actual problem. So it wasn't like listening to those other candidates um, was painful, right? Um, my eyes did roll a couple of times, of course, but it's not like it was unbearable or painful. Um, and there was things that you can get out of it, but of course, there were clear contrasts between the quality of the candidates. If you're sitting on the political spectrum anywhere, where probably most of us who watch and enjoy this show, keyword enjoy, sit. However, I have to say, after watching it, my overall assessment is that the performance put on by Pierre Poilièvre, and I do say performance using Skippy air quotes because it really was. Uh, I don't know what that was. And I'm not saying I don't know what that was because he was saying things that were extreme and wild and all that kind of stuff. Um, he, it was inconsistent in some very interesting ways. Uh, it was showboaty in some interesting ways. Um, in many of the answers, it betrayed that for whatever time he has spent in Battle River-Crowfoot, um, he doesn't seem to have learned much about the area or the people there. Um, it seems he didn't really prepare either. A lot of the answers were broad. Some of the answers, uh, in 1 minute to talk about a subject, and there were some subjects that he pivoted away from, that he couldn't speak to for 1 minute from the perspective of Battle River Crowfoot. Yeah, I if I had been in Battle River Crowfoot, let's say knocking on doors for even 10 days, right, since this by-election has been declared, right, I probably would have heard a couple of things from a couple of people that I could have taken notes on and at least spoken to or spoken about for 1 minute at an all candidates forum. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And it was extremely surprising because for many other candidates that did happen, and that created a contrast that gave the impression that again, that this was a performance. It was a guy that decided to show up because it would have been terrible PR to not show up at an all candidates forum. And we know that Pierre likes to not show up at debates and likes to advise his fellow conservatives to not show up to debates. So it would have been very, very um, bad form to be parachuting yourself into Battle River Crowfoot saying, let me represent you. But I know that you had an elected representative that you all agreed on. Well, not all, but nearly 83% of you who did bother to vote agreed on, and that he's not there anymore. And he's not there anymore because of me and because I want the seat instead, because I feel entitled to it because I'm a party leader. And I'm entitled to a do-over because I didn't get the job done the first time around, even though the people for whom I worked decided I didn't deserve to have a renewed term. But I'm just going to I'm just going to saunter into your riding, and I am going to ask to take the seat here so I can get back to Ottawa and continue to run to be prime minister and just forget that you guys ever actually existed, because that's what Pierre does. He uses people. That's just what he does. He's entitled. I want it. It's mine. Give it to me. And then he uses people to get there. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So he did have to show up because it's rude. I mean, what he's doing is rude, but it's all the more rude to say, "Hey, let me use you," and then not show up to even ask, "Hey, can I use you?" So he had to show up. I'm not sure how far ahead he had confirmed his attendance. He certainly wasn't making a big announcement that he would be there. Um, so, but he did show up. Bonnie Critchley, of course, was there as well. And like I said, um, contrast, juxtaposition. It's very, very revealing. Uh, but yeah, Pierre was there for a good time, not a long time. Of course, there was a certain number of people in the audience that were there for him, so he got soothed, comforted with applause for most of the things that he said. Um, I don't know if it was an audio thing. It didn't seem to be rousing an uproar of applause when he was speaking, and I don't think that anybody who was already going to vote for him is not going to vote for him based on his performance there. Um, but I'm not sure if there was anybody in that audience that had some doubts. Going, well, yeah, I'm ready to vote conservative with this, and he just needs to speak to me. I'm not sure they felt spoken to. And had they attended, they may have noticed that they might have other options that are better. It was not a home run. Pierre did not knock it out of the park. And for the guy from Ottawa who has 20 years experience in Parliament and has all these rhetorical flourishes and all that kind of stuff, um, if we're accepting that Battle River-Crowfoot is a place that is different because it is rural, different because it is large, and as Bonnie Critchley has mentioned in other interviews, uh, we're not stupid, we're not rednecks, we're not hicks. We just like a slower life. So if you're someone who likes a slower life, who chooses for themselves a slower life, or to work on a farm, or to be in trades, for example, um, did Pierre come and speak to you? Is Pierre really the person, the guy that talks fast and moves a lot of wind and talks about anti WEF and all that kind of stuff? Is that the guy that's going to fight or recognize that people who prefer to lead a slower life need different things from their government? If you were there, um, you had an open mind, you may have left the night deciding that there was maybe another candidate that would actually be a voice for the region and a better one. So I'm going to present a couple of moments from the evening here. And it won't just be Bonnie and Pierre. I will feature a couple of moments from other people as well. So you can get a bit of a flavor of everything that happened. But everything here, of course, opened with the um, the the 2-minute opening statement, of course. So uh, for this one, I am going to limit it. Um, well, no, not limited to Bonnie. I'll present one or two more because people will be interested in other things. But they've had the people on the stage in alphabetical order, which means that Bonnie Critchley was third on the list. Um, Fortunately for each question, they changed the order going down the line by moving it down by one. So she wasn't always speaking third. So just to make it a little more fair, because the person that, if that's the case, the person that's last um, always can often end up in a, yeah, me too, because everybody said everything before. So they did mix up the order, but to start off, she spoke third when was presenting herself. So here we go. Get some cups. Oops, I did that in the wrong order. I have to share the screen first, and then, of course, make the screen that we are watching full screen. So here we go. Share this. And okay, the show controls. There we go. Whoops. It would help if I actually turned on the volume. I put the volume on mute so the words when I was looking for the space at which to start, that it wouldn't just start playing sound over when I was speaking, but I forgot to unmute it. So because I do all my stunts, my own stunts, here's a take two.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie Critchley.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to
Oh, hold on. Another mistake on my end. Sorry. It seems that the speed of this was a little faster. So we'll just take this back a couple of seconds again. My bad. I'm so sorry. Here we go.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie Critchley.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to echo Grant's comments, thanking the Chamber of Commerce for putting this together and allowing us to have this time to discuss things all in one place without any spin or tall tales told. Myself, I am running as an independent. I don't have a party because I firmly believe that party politics would be damaging the Canadian politiscape. We are not American. We are not a two-party system. And while I may have run as a centrist with conservative leanings, I firmly believe that the Conservative Party of Canada has lost its way, and I fully intend on standing up for my neighbors. When our previous guy sells us out to let a guy from Ottawa come in, that is not right. I firmly believe that we need somebody here who understands our local issues, who understands the issues of right to repair, who understands that we do need proper oil sands development. Yes, I saw you there. I'm well aware where you are. We do need proper oil sands development. We need proper investment towards our farmers, and we need the federal government to wake up and pay attention outside the western border of Ontario. So that is who I am. And that is what I am here for. I am here to stand up only for my neighbors. My voice, your words. I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay, so some polite applause there for that response. Now, will they go down the line, of course, and everybody's sitting at a table, so everybody's sitting to deliver the responses, and we get to Pierre Poilièvre, and of course, well, right, when it comes to Pierre Poilièvre, there always needs to be a bit of a show. So over here, Kids and Cubs, we have the end of Ashley McDonald from the Green Party speaking, and then we'll get into Pierre.
Fuck a couple of you to vote for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre Poilièvre.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much to the Chamber. Thank you to the fellow candidates, though I think that there are about 190 of them that are missing. Maybe that's the audience out there. But in all truthfulness, thank you to those who are putting their names forward, and thank you to the great Damien Couric, who has given me the chance to speak for the people of Canada and for Battle River-Crowfoot. But
you will notice that he's now taken about 20 seconds of the 2 minutes and has had nothing to say about who he is and what it is he offers. He's only got 2 minutes.
most of all, thank you to Battle River-Crowfoot, the region that feeds, powers, and protects this country. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the ingenious energy workers, and protects through the brave soldiers at CFB Wainwright. Makes me proud to be an Albertan. Now, in fairness, I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and Calgary's a little ways from Camrose, but there's a lot of shared values across this province and across this country. And my Alberta values taught me about faith, family, and freedom, hard work, helping your neighbors, and those values guided me to fight for the values of this region when I was leader of the party and member of parliament over a couple of decades, that I forced the Liberal government to get rid of their carbon tax. fought, which is a local issue in rural communities, forced the debate on developing our resources, slowing down out of control immigration, cracking down on drugs and crime. And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
All right, so we have Pierre, and he decides to be the first to stand up like he's at a rally. He's got people in the audience giving him soothing applause for every line in there. You notice when he says, "As I'm a proud Albertan," if you look to the side, the Green candidate and the Libertarian candidate, who probably shouldn't agree on much, shared a little chuckle there. None of the other candidates seem to be impressed with the grandstanding at this point, and basically just has platitudes to say about the region, the farmers and the military and this, but he doesn't have anything specific, right? And then he talks about fighting the carbon tax and fighting the EV mandate, which, yes, I'm sure people out there care about, but he tries to describe those as local issues because through all the knocking on the doors, he hasn't heard one actual genuine local issue to which he could speak. He's just phoning it in, taking elements of his usual stump speech and throwing it in there and saying, "I'm for you." It's compared to what everybody else down that line said. Not great, not great. And as contrast to that, immediately after him was Darcy Spady, who from the Liberal Party. And let's take a look at what he had to say.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy Spady.
Thank you, Shauna. Thanks to Jennifer for the opening speech, and Aaron and Shauna at the Chamber office. You've been very accommodating. I appreciate it. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. I grew up in the Three Hills area. My family has been in the area for many years. I've worked in the energy industry. I went to the University of Alberta and went for engineering degree and have been a petroleum engineer for many years. I've worked in the energy industry in this riding from Wainwright to Morin to Camrose out to Brooks area. Been involved in stimulating, in cementing, in constructing, in doing intervention in wells all about this province, and more recently in the emissions reduction field. My family originally came to the Battle River in about 1905. They wandered in till about 1920. So the Spadies settled the Battle River area between Castor and Alliance. They still live there to this day. I grew up in Three Hills. My wife's family is in the Irma Viking area. Our families are in the agriculture business west of Acme, Three Hills, Linden. So I understand this riding well, and it's been my entire life. I did get elected in 2017 to become the international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is about 170,000 people. And I got to see what the rest of the world sees about us and our technology. It also made me realize that the people of Battle River-Crowfoot need a centrist option. I haven't seen one since about 1978. So I would really love to be your responsible representative in Parliament. I would love to be your member of Parliament and sit on the government benches where I could participate in caucus of the government. Thank you.
Okay. Do you notice the instant and immediate contrast? And if you were watching that and paying attention to Pierre's body language throughout it, right, as Darcy Spady starts speaking, Pierre's rearranging a couple of things. He's forward. He's like, he's kind of checked out in a way, right? kind of checked out in a way. He's there just for him. But Darcy Spady, the Liberal candidate, we learned a lot about him in 2 minutes. Tried to make a very big case of establishing his roots, that I am actually from here. Made a point that he did not want to be prime minister, and looked at Pierre as he was delivering that line, which, talked about his background, talked about his experience, talked about his having been worked in the petroleum industry. We learned stuff about him. He established that he knew the region well. He established in those 2 minutes that he was there to be a voice for them and not to pursue something else. Compare and contrast with what we learned from Pierre in that grandstanding moment where he stood up like this, got applause from the group of people that were organized to come there and probably instructed to cheer for the visuals, for the clips, at everything he says, no matter how generic. Compare and contrast. One person was there to deliver a performance, and one person was actually there to represent. All right. Of course, there were other candidates, but we will move on. Then we get to affordability and economic security. And of course, the first two candidates that are a little outside the margins of this show immediately went to immigration and lowering taxes. We got to blame the immigrants for the affordability situation and the lack of economic security. And we've got to blame those taxes because taxes are too high. There was one person in there throughout the whole discussion that was talking about cutting the welfare state and cutting all taxes, which I don't know how government ends up doing what it is going to do if you cut all taxes. But here again, we will bring you what Bonnie Critchley had to say with regard to this, since we've been focusing on her a good deal on this show. All right. There is going to be a little bit of chatter prior to it, probably the moderator, and then we will Bonnie's comment.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
I've never done this sitting down speaking thing well, so I'll stand up. Yes, basing our economy off of immigration numbers, not a good idea. But before we worry about our economy, we need to worry about our government spending. When the federal government is bloated and sending out third-party contracts, such as Veterans Affairs, contracting out care of veterans to Loblaws, we need to deal with it. The bloating has to stop. We need our middle managers to actually leave instead of just cutting the teeth. We also need our MPs to stop spending excessive amounts of money when we have one person who spends more than the next two of your money. Then we can look at cutting our taxes and making our employment that much easier to manage.
So there you go.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Bonnie getting some applause, looking at Pierre Poilièvre when she is talking about certain MPs who spend so much more than the rest, making no bones about it. We know who she's talking about there. Definitely would not want her on our bad side. And she takes a cue from Poilièvre. Since he stood up, she stands up for the answer, stating that she is more comfortable delivering her answer standing up. Other candidates end up doing that a couple of times as well, since Pierre basically handed out the permission slip. But here we go to Pierre's answer on this one. And the reason I'm going to bring this to you, well, again, the reason I'm going to bring this to you, you need to hear the answer, of course. I want you to hear what he has to say. But look at something is different about this answer when it comes to Pierre. Again, we're talking about affordability and economic security. And Pierre does something here, and it's a body language thing.
The cause of inflation is government. Cost, yes, it's very simple. Supply and demand. The government is boosting demand and limiting supply. They're boosting demand through out-of-control immigration and money printing that adds more money in people than new products for them to buy. And they're restricting the supply of things by blocking everything from home building to natural resource development. So what's the solution? We need to cut back on immigration. In fact, we need to have negative population growth for the next several years as more people leave than come. We need to slash bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and handouts to fraudulent refugees. And we need to unlock our resources to produce cheap energy and affordable homes. So let's produce more stuff rather than adding more people and more money.
Again, not really an answer. We're blaming immigrants, we're blaming the welfare state, all the usual stuff, right? But no clear answers, no concrete solutions, just a stump speech. And you will notice that when it comes to economic stability and affordability, that Pierre did not stand up for that answer. So if you think that you're the first to stand up, and you're standing up, let's say, because you're showing respect to the audience or because it helps you project or whatever, that you would be consistent with that throughout. But no, Pierre was able to stand up when he was introducing himself. Hey, I'm here. Give me that vote. But when it comes to talking about the number one issue, affordability and economic security, as it affects the people, that he doesn't stand up for. To me, that's very telling. And then, of course, he opens with the cause of inflation is government spending. The cause, because there's only one, and it happens to be government spending. And it goes, it's simple. Simple solutions and simple answers for simple minds from a simple mind. Compare and contrast with the interviews we've seen of Bonnie saying, you're not going to get a simple answer from me. I'm going to give you a full answer with nuance and texture. Again, he is not there. Not there for the people. He almost, right, talking about build the homes, axing the tax. Talking about immigrants, stopping the crime, right? Government spending, cut social short, fix the budget. It's the four slogans. Again, nothing about what the residents of Battle River-Crowfoot might be experiencing. Right? He could have spoke to the tariffs that China has imposed if he's talking about affordability and economic security. Right? He could have talked about the cost of heating one's home. He could have talked about the cost of affording a home in Battle River-Crowfoot. There might be different realities there. Had he been in the writing and knocking on doors, he might have had material for that answer, but he didn't. The cause of inflation is government. Inflation came in at 1.9%, below the Bank of Canada target, but the cause of inflation is government. He's phoning it in. He's phoning it in. The next question was on immigration and population growth here. And the answers will not be surprising. There's a lot of, at least a lot of calls to control population growth at the moment. Of course, the government is already doing that with certain caps that have been put into place, but there seems to be desire for more drastic solutions to that. But it seems that there's a overall general consensus among the candidates that not exclusively, but an overall general consensus on the issue of immigration in terms of the speed and the rate, if not the value of immigration, because there's a lot of people. There are candidates that see the value of immigration, as most of us do, but are saying like this, we might need to slow things a little bit because we did take in a lot of people in a small period of time. And then there are some people who are just downright anti-immigration on this panel. Cubs, here we have for you the answer that Bonnie Critchley had presented to her question, to the question about immigration. And there we go, kids and cubs. I will make sure again, hopefully that this time, for those listening, we tried this visual, did not work. So we're doing a take 2 here. All right, kids and cubs. Hopefully this time you will hear and see Bonnie Critchley. Please tell me if you do in the chat.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, I think Jonathan said it best, controlled immigration. It definitely needs to slow down. We are not in a position right now to take care of our own, much less other people. But again, before we can look at immigration and costs, we need to deal with our government bloat before we can deal with immigration. We need to deal with all those middle managers who give immigrants stacks of paper this big when they are doctors. They are the skills we are desperately needing, but our government fails to acknowledge their skills, their education. Yes, we need to slow down immigration. Stopping it entirely is a bad thing. Not acknowledging the skill sets that people bring to continue to deal with our country and the issues we've got is also something that needs to be dealt with. We got to cut the government bloat. Then we can afford to feed everybody.
Thank you, Bonnie.
All right, kids and cubs. So as you may have heard me say, hopefully my audio was still coming through. Probably not the best possible answer for that particular question. That was one, if we're being fair and objective here, didn't really knock it out of the park on that one. But now we're going to move forward to Pierre's response. And here you will notice again that he is performing and saying the things that he hopes the audience wants to hear, but with not too much that speaks specifically to the issue in any concrete ways or in terms of finding or having any solutions to propose in order to improve things. But he certainly appears who to blame.
Pierre.
I agree, and we did it right for 150 plus years, whether it was the frontier pioneers who came and settled the prairies, or the great Italians and Portuguese who came and built roads and founded families across Canada, or my wife who came as a refugee. Her dad picked fruit in a farm field so that he could pay the rent, and now they're a successful story. But over the last 10 years, the Liberals have adopted a post-nationalist ideology. They call it the Century Initiative, to triple our population, to favor globalist interests and multinational corporations at our expense. They've driven down wages with excess temporary foreign workers, with abusing the international student program and allowing fraudulent and often criminal arrivals to come in and abuse our system. That abuse must stop. We must have more people leaving than coming over the next several years as we bring down our population, allow our health care, our housing, our job market.
So there you go. Pierre knows who to blame. He, talking about immigration, talking about, immigration, the crime and all of this kind of stuff that the immigrants bring. And, it's just a terrible thing. We need to stop it, but nothing local. Again, just the overall basic stump speech. And of course, everybody did everything fine on immigration until the last 10 years, right? All Trudeau's fault. So again, while Bonnie's answer wasn't great, as Kit Linda M states here, great, perfectly well, not a great answer, but it's an answer that resonates with that particular audience and is in line with the overall sentiment. Again, not exclusively, but the overall sort of sentiment. She doesn't stray that far out of that, but he just has nothing at all to offer. He's got blame, he's got accusation, but he has no solutions and nothing that is related to. He doesn't have anything that doesn't seem like it was not taken out of a Trump speech, but then watered down a little bit for a Canadian context. The next person I'm going to show on this answer is a woman whose name is Catherine Swampy, who I mentioned, I believe might be the NDP representative, giving a take on immigration that is different from the consensus on the panel.
I think a handful of my colleagues up here need to check their privilege. Immigration is vitally important to our country. And when you look on a global scale, there's a war happening in Gaza, in Ukraine, and significant unrest in the United States. Where will these people be able to go? We should be welcoming people here in Canada. We should allow them to come here. And that doesn't mean that there won't be programs or services for everyone else. It's not pie. It doesn't mean that it's cut and they get everything and you get nothing. That's not the way it works. Canada is vast. There's more than enough area. This riding is vast. It takes me 8 hours just to get across it. There's more than enough space. And if anything, the farmers need hands. Every farmer I spoke to needs help.
Thank you, Catherine.
And of course, the reaction from the audience, a little more tepid to that type of answer, of course, here. There's one more I want to bring you. This is from a candidate that is outside the range. So these are not necessarily views that we support, but the answer is interesting in that while there has been a couple of comments to Pierre with regard to his spending and with regard to people's interest in wanting to run or not for prime minister, rather than being a voice for Battle River-Crowfoot. There were no outright and overt attacks on any other candidate until this moment, Kits and Cubs. So this, I believe, is Grant Abraham, if I remember his name. On this, Grant Abraham, and this is what he had to say on immigration.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
I'm going to stand up here because my legs are sore. Well, I'll say this. My family is an immigrant family. We pioneered land about 125 miles from here, and I'm a very proud Western Canadian. I'll tell you this. You guys are being sold a bill of goods here tonight from Mr. Poilièvre because he's talking to you about unleashing our energy sector. I would like to know how Mr. Poilièvre is going to do that when he refuses to tell us whether he'll leave the UN climate accord that completely restricts our carbon. I would like to know about inflation. Inflation is government. No. Inflation is government debt. And the reason we have lost 40% of our spending in this nation is because of rampant spending that is destabilizing our country. And that is exactly why we have a US president looking at a post-national government that is careening towards destruction. We need to have deeper.
And
Thank you, Grant.
there you go. And you will notice that a lot of times, if you hear that little sound of a bell, that their 1 minute runs out before they have time to fully make the statement. So here we have Grant Abraham launching into some type of tirade, but directly confronting Pierre Poilièvre and directly confronting the Conservative Party, saying it's presenting a bill of goods, and doing an outright attack. It's not an attack to which Pierre responded because, number one, this type of forum doesn't allow for it, but number two, by the time the next question is asked and it comes back to him, there's enough time to forget. But that was the first attempt by someone to actually go after him. So when I say on the show often that conservatives, for all the hate that they express towards progressives, for all the hate, the people they hate most is each other within that movement, because these two are part of the same movement: anti-immigration, anti-welfare state, anti all this kind of stuff. But Pierre is clearly not ideologically pure enough, and the Conservative Party isn't ideologically pure enough. So Grant Abraham feels the need to take them down a peg. The next question subject was government accountability and responsibility. And on this one, because of the order of questions and the way that they're asked, Bonnie Critchley got to go first. So for here, Kits and Cubs, on this one, I will have the question from the moderator and Bonnie Critchley's answer. And government accountability and responsibility. This one, Kits and Cubs, should be good.
So this next question, Bonnie, we're going to start with you. This one is around government accountability and democracy. So given that several candidates do not reside within the boundaries of this riding, what does local representation mean to you? And what specific actions will you undertake to ensure the perspectives and priorities of the constituents are authentically represented?
Oh, goody. You found my favorite one. I absolutely 100% agree. If you want to run for an area, you need to live here. This longest ballot crap, that's got to stop. We need one person who will be the official agent. That way we don't have one person sponsoring 200 people. But first and foremost, you don't know what's going on here unless you live here. As for government accountability, I absolutely would use my position as a swing vote within a minority government to push for government accountability. I want to release everybody's spending. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Sorry, Kits and Cubs. Again, some technical difficulties at this end, trying to get the video to stop and start at the times that I am wanting them to. So again, you will notice that Bonnie Critchley stood up. So now we've got three people standing up, right? We have Mr. Abraham, we have Bonnie Critchley, and sometimes Pierre Poilièvre. Not consistently. There are certain topics he stands up for, and there are certain topics he doesn't, which again signals which are the ones he's going to use as a clip, of course, right? Stand up, make this big dramatic show on certain answers, on certain topics, so he can get the clip and then go with it. And for the other ones, sit. The lack of consistency here, again, is revealing. Bonnie Critchley sat for the introduction like this and then said, I feel more comfortable standing up, and stood for every single question. Mr. Abraham, when he decided that his legs were sore and he was going to stand, he stood for every single question. But Pierre only stood selectively. You also know this, Bonnie Critchley definitely scored more applause in the room for this question, this answer, than she did for the one on immigration. And you would judge by the reaction of the audience when she says that people should have to live here. That when you see her in interview and she's talking about the people in her riding being choked, that it's not just something that she's saying, right? There's definitely a feel there, because for the concept of someone being parachuted in and being against that, there was a lot of applause. There's as much applause as Pierre received on any one of his answers. And we know that Pierre's applause is canned, right? It's a lot of people that have been brought in there and were given those instructions. But that applause for Bonnie's portion of that answer was organic from that audience. So we get to Pierre once again, and Kits and Cubs. This, you will notice, as I mentioned, that there are certain questions for which Pierre sits, and there are certain questions for which Pierre stands. Well, if we're talking about government accountability and responsibility, well, I mean, gee, he's going to stand for this one, right? Because that's his whole shtick. There's a clip to be gotten out of this one. So, Kits and Cubs, let's see what Pierre thought it was enough to stand up to say.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Thank you very much. Look, I'll be honest, having a leader of a political party as your local member of parliament is a trade-off. On the one hand, the leader, in truth, lives in hotel rooms, in low-budget hotel rooms across the country. I can assure you, they live in St. John's, Newfoundland one night, and in Sault Ste. Marie the next, and maybe Port Alberni after that. At the other side, though, is that leader can bring a very powerful megaphone to the local issues of the community. For example, getting a pipeline built from Hardisty over to Prince Rupert or to Kitimat, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Protecting your right to own a hunting rifle, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Fixing the prison in Drumheller is a local issue that needs national leadership. I will provide that strong.
So again, Kits and Cubs, no time to finish his answer again. And that's a sign of lack of preparation when you know you've got 1 minute and don't come in with a 1 minute sort of bite. Bonnie Critchley's been doing this a lot, but he just goes on and starts rambling. Out of all the things that he mentioned, fixing the prison in Drumheller might be the actual only genuine local issue. Pipeline and gun ownership is something that conservatives talk about all the time, no matter what, regardless of where, when, why, how. Doesn't really have anything, again, locally. And the question was about government accountability and responsibility. Was there anything in that answer that dealt with that? Because if there was, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it at all. Then once again, we get to Mr. Abraham, who delivers another answer, which I will present to you. Again, not necessarily because I agree with the content, but again, with because of what it is he chooses to do with his time on this one.
I think the people of Battle River and Crowfoot are interested in the truth. The truth is the Conservative Party voted for Bill C-4 that will criminalize you if you stop your child transitioning. Each of you will go to jail for 5 years. Pierre Poilièvre talks about faith, family, and freedom. That's a sham. And I think the other conversation we continue to need to have is what is really going on. What's going on in this country is that our sovereignty is being portrayed on a national level, and the only response is the people of Alberta that have the faith, the resiliency, the strength, the wealth, and the grit to actually stand up to the selling out of the nation. And so while we're talking about this tonight, remember, we are talking about two Canadas, because what's happening in this country is a pandering to Ontario and Quebec to get this gentleman elected, and you're paying the price. That's what's going on.
So, once again, goes out for a direct attack on Pierre. Of course, you can't avoid getting into the anti-trans stuff along the way, because, that's necessary when you espouse the political positions that he does. But makes a point, however, about pandering. And Pierre dropping off a guy from Ontario who is not going to be the voice, who's just going to keep on running to be prime minister. But again, the second time that he goes after Pierre specifically in this debate. So again, proving once more that there's nobody that conservatives hate more than other conservatives, especially if they don't pass their personal ideology test. All right, the next question that was asked here was on the issue of healthcare. And again, we get to Pierre's answer on this one. And again, healthcare being a subject of great to frequently shows up as the number one issue that people are concerned about in polling. And well, let's see if Pierre stands or sits for a question on healthcare.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Quite frankly, it's the Liberal government in Ottawa that has denigrated our healthcare system. To start with the out-of-control population growth of particularly the last 5 years, our ratio of patient to doctor is now worse than it's ever been. We need to cap immigration to ensure that we can add doctors and nurses faster than we add people. Second, we need to grow our economy faster because our federal healthcare transfer grows at the same rate as our economy. And that means unleashing our resources, lowering taxes, and making our economy stronger. And third, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work because they can't get a license. We have a red seal that's already in place for the trades, a national license for the licensed trades. We should do the same thing with a blue seal based on a high standard that immigrant doctors can take a test, prove they're qualified, and get to work in our hospital.
So that's what we get from Pierre. At least he was somewhat on topic for a part of it, talking about recognition of credentials. But he's not the first to raise that topic on the stage over the course of that evening. Moving here next to the answer. Ooh, did I forget body on this one? Okay, yes. No, I did. So she speaks after Pierre, the one. So I will just make sure that I put the time stamp at the right spot here. Okay. And let's see what Bonnie Critchley had to answer with regard to healthcare. Now, you'll remember when she was on our show, she made a point specifically of saying, there's lots of things that she would like to do with healthcare, but of course, it's a provincial issue for the most part, and she is really, and she's consistent here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, first off, I want to pull everybody's attention to the fact that Monsieur Poilièvre totally skipped the accountability portion of the government accountability question. But carrying on, I do appreciate that he reiterated my point about immigration and not the Canadian government not accepting the governments and the qualifications of people. However, healthcare is provincial. I hate to say it, I want to help, I want to fix it, it's provincial. I personally would love to see it go federal, because I've gone province to province to province with my job, and suddenly the things I can do in Alberta, I can't do in Saskatchewan, I can't do in BC, I can't do in New Brunswick. I would like to see it come back provincial so that we do not have individuals such as Ms. Smith completely selling us out.
All right, so there in the crowd, you will notice that Bonnie Critchley didn't say anything different that she said on the show, that she would like it to be federal because of her personal experience with the healthcare system. She did get some applause from the audience for having blamed Danielle Smith, but you also noticed that there were some boos that came in at the end. Some people didn't like her for putting the responsibility for healthcare and pointing out where it actually lies. So, again, she said that she would speak her mind, and she did, calling out Pierre, of course, for having avoided answering the question on accountability and responsibility, which he did. Didn't talk about anything about that at all. And now the next question is about electoral reform specifically. And you will see, oh, hold on, let me check my notes here. That may not be correct. Yes, it is. It's on electoral reform specifically. So they took a break after that question for 20 minutes, and then they came back for the second half. And he is asked about this. And at this moment, clearly, what Bonnie had to say with regard to him evading the answer on accountability definitely hit home, because he chooses to address it here in this answer. However, the thing that strikes me here is that they had a 20-minute break. So he had lots of time to talk to people, and even if he didn't have people to talk to, because I'm sure he had some team members there, just think about that on its own and come up with something in order to be able to address that. And I guess with his break time, he continued to and somewhat checked out. The way he chose to address it, rather lame. But I'll let you judge for yourself.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam and it must be stopped.
And of course, we get to the spinning wheel yet again. Okay. Kids and cubs, I am so sorry. Technology is not cooperating with us today in order to have a smooth show. I was so proud of the show yesterday because it went super smooth and everything went was great. When the show ended, I was thinking, my God, that went really well. But today, not so much. Unfortunately, this feed is not the best one for the purposes that we wanted to try and bring to you today. But we will persevere because it is important to get this information out to you here. So I've got it all set up, reloaded the feed one more time. And all right, let's hear what Pierre had to say. The topic is supposed to be electoral reform. And of course, Pierre coming back to us on the accountability issue as well in his answer, given that he was called out.
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam and it must be stopped. I'm the only leader that this interest group seems to have targeted for some reason, and that I find interesting, but it is a total scam and there is no good public interest reason to do it. I think anybody should be allowed to run, but they should have to get unique signatures and they should have a unique financial agent. If you did that, you'd guarantee this would never happen again. God willing, if I have your support and I get to Parliament, I will put forward legislative changes to make sure that this never happens again anywhere in Canada. And speaking of accountability, we need to build on Stephen Harper's Accountability Act to crack down on the loopholes that Liberals, including Mark Carney, have exploited. We need to ensure that our leaders are working for you and not for their private profit. Thank you.
All right, let's get into this one, because here, in my estimation, is where Pierre completely and totally blew it. Right? Democratic reform is not only about the longest ballot committee, and he again, like Danielle Smith with the Jasper wildfire report, put himself at the center of it, saying that it only affected him. The longest ballot committee has been doing its thing for several years now. It impacted 5 elections in which the Liberal candidate was the incumbent, 1 in which the NDP, and only 2 where the Conservative candidate was the incumbent, in the last federal election in Carleton, and this one because there's only 1 by-election, and they said that they would operate in every single one. Right? So Pierre is trying to single himself as a victim and martyr, as being the only person that's been attacked by this, when it is not true at all. He only started caring about it once the longest ballot committee started going after ridings in which there was a Conservative candidate as opposed to a Liberal or an NDP one. And it's the most recent development because they hadn't until the federal election. But he tries to put himself at the center of it. And then after that answer, if you're not watching, he actually puts the mic down to his side like he had a mic drop, then picks it up and delivers the answer on accountability. And if you pay attention to what it is that he just said, he basically admitted that the Accountability Act that Stephen Harper tabled, which was his number 1 piece of legislation, was drafted with loopholes that could be exploited. Because he's blaming Mark Carney from exploiting them. Well, that would, if those loopholes were there the entire time, that means that those are loopholes that Stephen Harper also exploited. Right? Or if he did not exploit them, were available for him to exploit. So why is it that the next logical question is, why is it that the Accountability Act was drafted with these loopholes? It was your party's signature piece of legislation. 20-something years later, you're still talking about it like it was a good thing. And you've just confessed in a debate that act was drawn with loopholes. I wonder for what purpose the act at its origin would have been drawn with loopholes, and then in effect for 10 full years, or about 10 full years, when the Conservative Party reigned. And I remember it's an Accountability Act and ethics provisions that not very many conservatives were found guilty of having violated or breaking, despite the fact that the party pleaded guilty in court to electoral cheating in the first election in order to prevent 4 people, including 2 senators, from going to jail. An act that ended up with Pierre having a lifetime deferred prosecution agreement from Elections Canada for having done some things in an election that was not okay, but didn't get an ethics violation from that. Dean Del Mastro going to jail, Bruce Carson being tried and convicted, Arthur Porter being tried and convicted. Yeah, Mike Duffy being tried, the senator's expense scandal, but yet the ethics commissioner that Mr. Harper himself picked, Mary Dawson, had great difficulty finding ethics violations despite criminal charges and court cases and even convictions. But Mary Dawson did find one ethics violation somewhere along the way, and that would be as her last act as ethics commissioner when the Prime Minister took a vacation to the Aga Khan. Honorary citizen, Aga Khan, made honorary citizen by the Conservative Party of Canada. There she found an ethics violation. But wasn't able to find very many during the whole decade of Harper. And he just stood up and said that the law was drafted with loopholes that could be exploited. But we're supposed to believe that in that decade, the Conservatives never exploited one of those loopholes. If I was a journalist and I was writing an article about this, that would be my headline. Pierre Poilièvre confesses that the Accountability Act was drawn with loopholes. Yeah, not his best moment. And he thought that that was a winning moment for him. Well, before that, he thought it was a winning moment for him because he put the mic down and gave that sort of look. And then he kept talking because he could have just let the comment slide. I mean, he had already avoided the question the first time, but he felt he needed to address it. And in addressing it, dug himself a deeper hole. All right. The following question they had was on agriculture and rural development. And here, side by side, I am going to present in one straight tack the answers that were brought to you. Did I want to bring you more? We're getting a little long here. There was a couple of other answers on electoral reform that were interesting, but given that we want to keep the show at a reasonable length here. Agricultural and rural development. Now, here's an opportunity for Pierre to show that he really does care about the local issues and has taken the time to meet people and learn about what's going on the ground. Able to fill 1 minute of time, hopefully being able to fill 1 minute of time with content of any kind, talking about something that would be more local. Let's take a look and see how he does. All right. All lined up and making sure that you have audio and visual. There it is. Okay. Let's see what it is that he had to say. And I do not know. Okay. Again, the computer is doing some really weird stuff. I do not know where the video went. It's on the screen, but it seems to have completely disappeared. Okay, hold on. Oh, there it is.
Thank you, Michael. So this next question will start with you, Pierre. It's around agriculture and rural development. So how will you support farmers and rural communities in adapting to the growing impacts of climate change, such as droughts, wildfires, and extreme weather, while also promoting sustainable agricultural practices, rural infrastructure, and rural economic development?
Well, there's a lot in that question. Let's start with infrastructure. And I was very pleased to meet with the special areas, OIN and special areas representatives who are working on getting a direct train route that would allow produce to go through Camrose straight to the west coast rather than having to go all the way east to Saskatoon. Right now, farmers from the area have to add 600 kilometers of extra transit in the wrong direction in order to get to the west coast and ship to world markets. And I will hope to work with the region to try and get that short line track completed. I know that Damien has done great work on it. But we also need to do other things. We need to get rid of the liberal regulations that are cracking down on our farmers, get rid of the industrial carbon tax that's driving up the cost of fertilizer in this country. We need to respect the firearms rights of our farmers and allow them to use.
Oh, darn. Poor Pierre had his answer cut off. Oh,
Speaking of fertilizer, I dream of the day when fertilizer will be less than $1,200 a ton and canola will be more than $700 a ton. In fact, I'd like to switch them. My canola's going in the bin in the fall, Lord willing. I think it's looking good right now, and I want to make sure that when it hits the bin, that I get the best world price that I can. When I grew up, Dad had a wheat board ticket that we took every time we took a load of grain to the elevator, and Canada was known as a global superpower in cereals. We want to be back in a strong economy as a country where we can trade side to side and abroad and have strong leadership. I like the way things are moving with Prime Minister Carney talking about being the most growing economy in the G7. These are important to me as farmers. Clearly we don't have farmers in the audience because they're booing about getting our product to market. I think it's time we have pipelines that sell our oil and gas and solid trading practices around the globe.
all right. I wanted to show you both comments there. You will notice that after Pierre made his comment and had his time cut because he couldn't get there, he actually raised his glass in sort of a cheer to the audience that was cheering for him. And then, of course, we have Darcy Spady, the Liberal candidate, and twice during the forum when he mentioned that he liked what Mark Carney was doing. The people that were there to support Pierre made sure that they booed loud enough to be considered audible. And you saw Pierre took great delight into that, great delight with that, with the smile that popped up on his face as it was happening. Yeah, not not the best stuff here again from Pierre, and again very clear that this is a performance that he is getting involved in. Once again, I'm going to bring you an answer again from Mr. Abraham. Again, because of what it is he chooses to do with this answer. Now, twice already, he has come after Pierre specifically, or the Conservatives, taking advantage of the 1 minute to ask something that doesn't really have anything to do with the actual subject at hand. And this is the same case here. But once again, makes a point, even though I don't agree with a lot of his policies and his positions, clearly does not like Pierre Poilièvre at all, and makes a point of signaling something which as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
Well, this is a great conversation. You know what? We need to look at farmers in China and the tariffs that we're paying for canola and get those stripped down. But why can't we do that? Because this nation is riddled with foreign interference. David McGuinty in 2020 made a very clear report about that, ample evidence of severe and sustained foreign interference that's undermining our political process and democracy. Yet, we have a leader of a political party here to my left who will not attain his clearance, security clearance. Hey, that's the truth. He won't attain his security clearance to actually tell you who the 11 MPs were that you were put in front of to vote. So would I get some more time for that, or is?
Yeah, so I'm going to say that you can have 15 more seconds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because we had 11 MPs in this federal election that were the direct agents of or under the influence of foreign interference, and you weren't told. And why can't we actually deal with foreign governments that are influencing us? Because our loyal opposition won't tell us. Thank you very much, Mr. Poilièvre.
Thank you, Grant.
Ooh, boy. Okay. Yeah. Mention clearly that Pierre Poilièvre doesn't have his security clearance in a very conservative friendly riding, and see what happens to you. Wow. That was the biggest boo of the night. And again, it was conservative on conservative violence. Well, you know, as violent as things get in a candidate forum. Oh, my word. Wow. But yeah, just putting it out there like this. He doesn't have his clearance. And, Pierre didn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And didn't, unlike the accountability comment that he thought he had a point on that he could come back with, he definitely did not feel that he had a point to come back with that and a need to come back with that. We get on to Bonnie's answer. Again, the subject has to do with agriculture. Right. So Mr. Abraham did start answering, right, talking about canola and, of course, referring to the tariffs that China has put on it, but then took it to the security clearance.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
When I was running around, knocking on doors, did one quick tour of the riding, and then I'm taking my time going around again. One of the things that came up was agricultural innovation. Our successive federal governments, both parties, have sold off our innovation to big corporations. These corporations now charge our farmers royalties for seed, or they will sue your neighbor if your seed blows over into his field. This has got to stop. I intend to fully stand up for my neighbors. And if you tell me that agricultural innovation is the private member's bill you want me to put forward, that's what I will do. Because this has to come back to you so you can continue to feed the entire country, because they seem to have forgotten that fact.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Again, you can see that over the course of the evening, Bonnie Critchley is winning over some people in the audience. Even Mr. Abraham, if you saw him on the side, was nodding his head to some of the things she was saying there. But again, she is literally speaking to a local concern on this issue, and Pierre Poilièvre could not do that at all. Here I'm going to present as well some answers from the next two candidates, just again so you can get a little bit of a sampling here. So the first one is Michael Harris, who is the Libertarian candidate, and then Ashley McDonald of the Greens here on agriculture and rural development. And hopefully I got this queued up at the right place. Just going to make sure here so I'm not wasting your time. Yep, I do. So let's go on with that.
Michael.
Quick question. Do we have any history buffs in this room right now? Does anybody know anything about the Gauss plan by any chance in the Soviet Union? It was a plan of centralized economy that was regulating the Soviet Union. And we have our very own Gauss plan here in Canada called supply management. And it is limiting the amount of produce of milk, poultry, eggs, all of that, all of the above, every single month. And if you go over that quota, well, it's got to go in the garbage. I've been going around talking to a lot of farmers in Drumheller, Acme, and Three Hills, where they have to dump hundreds of liters of milk every single month because of this policy. I'm the only candidate that's on this stage saying that we need to end the policy of supply management now, not later. We need to end it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So the Green Party of Canada platform effectively states that, and as we all know, Canadians need good, healthy, nutritious food that isn't absurdly expensive, that makes it to the point that we can't feed our families. We have to choose which meals, who gets what meal, and what meal we have to skip, and so on. You know, the Green Plan is to strengthen agriculture and food security, and that is built on the idea that we must strengthen and increase local and regional food production. We need to give, you know, Bonnie touched on it with big corporations buying up large tracts of land. For me, family farms need to actually be run by families, not by a family that runs a corporation and that can claim that it's a family farm and get all these tax breaks and then screw over the small farmers. We need an actual system that serves the people, not these big corporations. We need to create regional food hubs that can better supply the people of this country.
So again, two contrasting styles in terms of an answer. Mr. Harris, full of fire here, and saying we need to end supply management now. Not sure how popular that response is, and of course, you could hear the thud of the mic hit to the table, which was sort of, so I guess he sort of saw it as a mic drop moment, and you saw Mr. McDonald didn't seem to be particularly impressed with that. He's sort of like rubbing his eye and like, okay, but also picking up on an element of an answer that Bonnie Critchley had put in hers, and building on that. But again, whether you agree with his solutions or not, he actually has some concrete ideas and solutions that he's thought about that could be applied and, if successful, would benefit the community, as opposed to Pierre, who didn't really have any. I'm also seeing some chats, some laughs in the chats when Pierre was talking about earlier on, saying, I need to be honest with you. A leader of a party will often stay in lots of low budget hotels. Leaders of parties don't stay in low budget hotels, and if they do, it's because they're in a very, very, very rural riding where like the best accommodations possible, or whatever the local motel is, if that is indeed the case, if they don't, so if there isn't a party friend or someone else instead at a more posh location at which they can stay. But, party leaders, in particular, when you reach, should you become prime minister, especially when you're traveling internationally to represent, you're not staying in low budget hotels. You just are not. So I'm noticing that here. And then, other people are noticing here what Pierre is doing here. Got Kit Bucky going, that tone and theatrics. You'd think he's about to sell us a monorail. Or Kit Saucy going, Pierre's just throwing shit at the wall and hope it sticks. Kit Linda here. He stacked the audience so he'll always have applause for his clips. Yeah. Pretty much what's going on. So that's what I'm saying, right? When I'm saying it was a performance by Pierre, he's there to perform. He's not there to offer serious answers. He's not there to show that he is going to be the voice of those residents. The final question of the evening was on education and workforce development. Um, and oh, I didn't note this as well as I thought I would have. But okay, let's see what I've got here. I believe this is the one that I have here will be Critchley as answer to this. Yes. All right, just making sure I got it lined up here. Okay, and here we go. So education and workforce development is the theme.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, as Ms. Spanier mentioned, education is a provincial responsibility. I would like to see more barriers to students getting into trades, and I would like to see our trades go smoother as you move province to province. However, the one thing that I can touch as an independent in a minority government, I can start funneling the federal student work experience program back where it should be. This is what I have been told as I toured by various assorted town councilors and municipalities is our students, our youth don't have jobs. We need to have this work experience program and we need to have these funds back into our community to give our youth the experience they need for the future.
All right. There was a bit of a misspeak there when she said, I want to see greater barriers. I'm pretty sure she intended to say that she wanted fewer barriers to the trades and not more. So I think there was a little misspeak there. Again, not her strongest answer of the night, but again, showing in her response that she did go around and listen to what constituents had to say and was willing to add that to her platform. This next comment again will be Mr. Harris, and he too decides to make a comment. Danielle, which happened fairly rarely in the debate, of course, because it's a federal debate, but it did happen a couple times where people were pointing out some things that were going on. And let's see what type of reaction he gets.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the University of Calgary and my fellow students that are watching this live stream. First of all, I just want to say, do not be fooled. The issues that we are facing in this province due to education are completely the result of our premier and the provincial government here in Alberta. We need to see more support for students. As a member and student of the University of Calgary, I see a lot of corruption in our student boards, for our teachers and our professors, where they are taking massive bonuses every single year, which almost doubles their income, while students are struggling to get by and to be able to pay for their education. All the while, we have a government that is disavowing the ability for people to homeschool, for people to be able to learn their trades. And as Johnny was saying, we're pushing people that to get a good job, you have to go to university, when that is not true. Good paying jobs in this province are from trade jobs, not from university jobs. Let's get more people into trade jobs, please. Thank you.
So again, the only candidate there who is a student on the stage, speaking, bringing their perspective to it. Again, not necessarily agreeing with everything that he has to say there in that answer, but it was indeed putting some of the responsibility for this at the feet of the people who are indeed responsible for it. Then we get to Pierre once again, and probably one of the moments in this whole thing in which, to my estimation, he sounded most like Donald Trump. uh, on any topic here during the course of the debate. So again, we might have a couple of seconds of Mr. Ashley McDonald speaking before we can get into Pierre talking about this. This will be from the candidate forum.
Long that the amortization period lapsed and the federal government seized it, and this sits as a debt today that I still can pay off. But people are getting even more and more and more in debt for degrees that they can't actually use in the job.
Whoops. There we go. He got
Thank
cut
you,
off,
Ashley.
unfortunately.
Pierre.
Bluntly speaking, this generation of youth has been totally screwed like never before. Start with their wages. The government's bringing in unprecedented numbers of low-wage temporary foreign workers, taking away the retail, accommodation, and restaurant jobs that normally paid the tuition of our youth. That has to stop. We have to cut back on that. Secondly, our universities are not equipping people with the right skills. I got a university education, U of C, it was great. But I'll tell you what we need is more emphasis on the trades. We need more of the people who can make stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, and move stuff. And we need to shift more of our resources to making it possible for our young people to sign on to the trades. And finally, we need to remove the red tape and the taxes to build homes that our young people can actually afford, so that when they graduate with student debt, they can still afford to buy a home and start a family and build a Canadian.
All right. And again, the question was on education and workforce development. And he's talking about, at the end, building the homes. But no, of course, not before opening with a Donald Trump like, the kids today are getting screwed like no one's ever seen before. And that was the sort of the key moments of that candidate forum, Kits and Cubs. Again, less than impressed by a lot by Pierre Poilièvre. If this was a person who actually was serious about wanting those votes, he would have had much better answers to a lot of these questions, particularly, again, since he only had to fill 1 minute of time and was just consistently incapable of doing that throughout the entire evening. For a guy who is known to work hard, and he does work hard, he works hard at all the wrong things. He just seems to work hard at all the wrong things. There's no other way to explain it. But he was not prepared. He was not prepared at all for this. He did not have local answers. There was too much grandstanding. Several times he seemed to be very pleased with himself with the way he sat down and was sort of smiling or rocking back and forth. But yeah, I would not, if I was a resident there and had gone in there with an open mind, right? Maybe even leaning Pierre, because, he is the leader of the party. Even if I was thinking, okay, you know what, maybe he won't do all that much for us, but it's always a good idea to have the leader of a party in your own riding, whatever it is. I would have left that forum thinking, that's not my guy. In this last answer, he is talking about, we need caps on students coming in. That's been done already. The solutions that he was proposing are things that have already been done, that are working their way through the system now. There's a reason why Ontario colleges have lost 10,000 staff. It's because there has been a cap put on the number of student visas. It's in effect right now, as we speak. He doesn't have to do anything. It's been done, unless he wants to cut deeper. But other than that, no credible solutions, nothing of his own. So yeah, I am surprised by how little prepared he is for that, and then simultaneously not surprised, really, probably shocked by how little prepared, and yet not surprised because this performance is totally in line with everything we've come to know to be true about him as he's been campaigning for this seat. It's half-assed. His heart's not really in it, and he feels that it should just be given to him because he's a party leader. He's come there and said, I want it. But he's not really prepared to do the work. He hasn't been there knocking on doors as much as he needs to be. He's been going to some larger events where people come to him, but how much outreach has he been doing going to people? He has a team that's been going door to door knocking for him, led by Damien Couric. But how much has he been doing it? He's been campaigning in Richmond, BC, and at the Calgary Stampede. But every candidate on that stage, whether they lived in the riding or not, had some things that they could say that would appeal specifically to local issue or local residents, or that showed that they had thought about something local or cared enough to ask. Except him. Except him. He's entitled and he's arrogant. And he is definitely using the people of Battle River-Crowfoot. Based on that, I would not think that he's deserving. I don't know what your assessment is, but we've seen Pierre in debates where he's done better. Right? Some of the federal election debates that he participated in, he had a strategy. It was clear. You could see it coming through. He had points. You could tell that he had been in a mock set. I don't even think they did a mock for him, a mock forum for him. I don't even think he took any time to sit in a room with a couple of advisors and simulate a candidate forum to get him to work some of those answers. Because a really polished and prepared candidate that has all that money and all that machine behind him would have had tight, compact, concise answers that fit within a minute. And in each one of them, there would have been something very, very specific about the writing. And he did not seem to be able to do that. And then when you add all the body language and the behavior, reveling in the applause, delivering an answer and putting his glass up, I don't know, man. I don't know. This wasn't it. Hopefully, residents of Battle River-Crowfoot who were either there in person or were watching this at home and had any doubts as to whether the angry man from Ottawa, as Bonnie Critchley has dubbed him, could actually serve them. Hopefully, they heard this, tuned into this, and decided, no, this is not our guy. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Bit of an extended episode, given that there was a lot of content to present from that debate. And unfortunately, with some technical glitches, I thank you so much for your patience with this. But tomorrow, hopefully, again, tomorrow's a new day and it'll be a new opportunity. And hopefully tomorrow's show will be smoother. But I do thank you for your patience and your indulgence as we went through this. Hopefully, you found, especially if you live in Battle River-Crowfoot, you had some information in here that you have found relevant and that can be useful to you. And if you don't, if you're living across Canada and it's just sort of trying to get a sense of where the Conservative Party is going and how it's orienting itself, and whether or not that change of tone that Pierre keeps on saying that he's about to bring, and whether or not the starting to model behavior that shows that he has a government in waiting for us. He doesn't. He doesn't. And hopefully that was clear to you today. Kits and Cubs, please, if you can, share our content. You are influencers in your circle, and we really appreciate when you do, especially when you put a little bit of a word of yours along with it. If you happen to be a very, very, very busy beaver or kit on the go and don't have time to watch our show live, hey, why not take us with you? We are portable, and thanks to the Ray Girl Kits and Cubs, well, hey, boom, scan that QR code, and you will be able to get our ears-only version podcast that you can download and bring along with you, because we are portable and fun-sized. Just scan that QR code and it will bring you to our Podpage site, podpage.com/the-truenortheagerbeaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click on subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you, Kits and Cubs. And we try to make it easy so that you can take us with you on the go. Kits and Cubs as well. If you would like to help us, then we would encourage you to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have our buttons like, share, and subscribe, and they are waiting for you. That QR code that just appeared there will bring you right there. And please go there. When you click those buttons, it helps us with the algorithm, and let's we get a warm fuzzy when I see our numbers go up. So that's absolutely wonderful on your part. We thank you for everything that you do. And if you're watching live, remember, if you smash now, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave, as Kit Elaine would say. Now, Kits and Cubs, if you would like to help us in another way, we could use your help through a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, which is available via our coffee page. That QR code that just appeared would bring you there, but if you're listening, it's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And when you make a donation there, it goes into our tip jar. And again, that too makes us very happy. If you are buying Canadian still and would like to avoid the US CE Tech Pros, you can forward your donation to our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. It's a 100% Canadian transaction, and we get 100% of your donation that way. No CE Bro middleman to take a cut, so it's win-win, and we appreciate you very much. Also, if you want to write to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is the same email address that you can use to do that. And we hope that you would. Let us know what you think about the show. If you have some guest suggestions, even constructive criticism, we take it all and we love to hear from you. So please write to us. And Kits and Cubs, everything that you write to us or send to us does get invested back into the show. So thank you so much. And remember, if you're not able to send us anything financial, do not worry, because the gift of your participation and your presence are the ones that matter the most to us. We're just happy you're here. Kits and Cubs, because democracy is something that you do. There are some provincial by-elections coming up, I believe on August 11th. One in Quebec in the riding of Arthabasca, if you're pronouncing it French-wise. There's a by-election there, and I believe there are two more in Prince Edward Island the next day. I'm thinking that this one is August 12th, according to CBC. Voters will head to the polls for two provincial by-elections, which will fill vacancies in District 9, Charlottetown, Hillsborough Park, and District 15, Brackley, Hunter River, on August 12th. Officials initially said the by-election would take place on August 11th, but a correction was issued Thursday morning. Okay, good to know, because my impression indeed was August 11th. Quote, Elections PEI provided Executive Council with an election date calculation tool to assist in planning the date of an election and the advanced voting days, reads the release from Elections PEI. There was an error on this tool, which unfortunately calculated an incorrect date for election day. So there we go. It will be on August 12th. So please get some cubs. Oh, sorry there. I had a yawn come out. Do what you need to do to be informed about your candidates and make sure to plan your vote. Provincial by-elections are very, very important. So especially in PEI. So kids and cubs, I mean, they're important everywhere. But Prince Edward Island, you know, closer community peoples tend to know a little more, tend to know each other more. And being a politician on the island is very different because the odds that you are going to come across your constituents on a pretty much daily basis as you're out there living your life are way greater there than in other places in Canada. So please take the time to get to know your candidates and to volunteer if there is one that you particularly like. And I'm sure that Elections PEI and Élections Québec are probably looking for some volunteers to man those polling stations. So if you are able to help, please do. Words of wisdom, kits and cubs. I'm going to take my words of wisdom yesterday from my experience playing tennis. I went back on the courts and was a good boy, a good beaver. I remembered to not get so lost in the game that I didn't take some wild runs at stuff, practice some placement. Of course, I lost, but the win was actually being on the court and getting to swing that racket. So, kits and cubs, I would say to you, if you are feeling down or a little low, or maybe feeling that you're not as accomplishing as much as you would like to, remember, sometimes showing up and being ready to play, whether it's tennis or the game of life, that's the win in itself, right? You don't necessarily have to win the match to be winning. Sometimes you just need to show up, and that is the win. Okay. Hopefully that will help you through your day. Kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And again, I thank you for your patience and indulgence with the show. Even with the extra, you can tell I'm a little flustered from this one having been a bit more of a challenge. But we got through it, and hopefully we had some good content. Now, kids and cubs, it's time for the audience participation part of the show, and I'm sure you are going to do much better at that than I've been able to do today. So, at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, if I could hear, and particularly if you're feeling a little sorry for me, put a little extra oomph in it. Mr. Beaver, please cue the gong on 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes. See, you are wonderful, kits and cubs. I heard it. I heard the extra heart in that one. And that makes me feel all better now. So here we go. I am going to do that for you as your humble servant. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Kits and Cubs, a little bit of Canadians who make us proud. At the World Aquatics, Chantaroon had made the final in the 200-meter butterfly and had a great performance, but like Kali Mass in the 100-meter backstroke, just missed the podium by one spot, finishing fourth in the final, which is sometimes the fourth place is the toughest place to finish. But yes, I finished in fourth place, delivering a good performance. And Summer McIntosh has advanced to the 200-meter butterfly final. And I'm sure that there are other performances by our Canadians there, but to talk about. But I'm not abreast of them at the moment. So hopefully I will have more on that tomorrow. And for tennis fans, it was a bit of a rough day at the National Bank Open with a lot of Canadians being eliminated. Bianca Andreescu had to withdraw with her ankle injury. Rebecca Marino and lost her match, but she had a tough draw there. So that was kind of expected at that case and not a surprise. Leila Fernandez had an issue for somehow reason with the organization because she had just won a tournament in Washington, D.C. on Sunday and was trying to get to Montreal quickly and get into the mode for a new tournament. And it seems that a lot of people were advocating for her to be able to play the evening match. But it seems that the Women's Tennis Association has a protocol that all the matches from the first round must be completed or the second round before you can move on to play any matches in the following round. And it seems that the matches of the following round were scheduled to start in the evening, so they put her as late in the day as possible, but they did give her a day match and with almost zero turnaround time. Of course, she was not able to give her best performance, and she did have a couple of things to say about not being able to get a decent slot. And I think that this may be a policy that the WTA should change. When the two finalists at one tournament are playing in the next tournament down there, and of course they're there till the end because they're playing the last tournament, the last match of the tournament, so they don't get to leave a day before. And then if you win or if you lose, there's all the press after that. And of course, after a match, all the things that you do to warm down. It's sometimes not as easy to get to the next stop and get enough rest and get enough, settle in and get enough preparation. And there should probably be a change in policy that if you're there, if you're one of those two players that were in the final, that your match could maybe go into the other round instead of this hard and fast rule, which makes it very impossible for players to be able to be their best at such a quick turnaround. And this is particularly infuriating because there's only one major tournament. There are several other tournaments, challenger levels, but only one major Canadian tournament. And when we have Canadian playing at home, you would think that there would be accommodations made, both by the WTA. I'm not sure that Tennis Canada had much sway in this. They tried to fight to get a later match for Leila Fernandez, but were unsuccessful. But it's in the best interest of everyone to have the players rested and being able to compete to put on the best show, because I'm sure it was an interesting match for the audience to watch as well. And especially for players when they're playing at a tournament at home, right? Uh, you would want to give them the best chance. So that's a protocol that might require a little tweaking. For her part, Victoria Mboko, she keeps on winning, defeated the number 23 seed, Sofia Kenin, former Grand Slam champion, to advance to the third round, the first time that she advances to the third round of a Masters 1000 event. So she is doing very well. On the men's side, Denis Shapovalov, who also won a tournament recently but had more time to rest, had a very, very bad performance. Unfortunately, both sets he was leading 5-3 and serving to close the set, and managed to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and got himself eliminated. Also, Nicolas Arsenault, who's been one of the stories for the men at this tournament. He's a young man, up and comer, and was ranked in the 638th in the world when he was had admitted to this tournament. Defeated a high-ranked player to win his first round match, and then the second round match was playing number 26, the number 26, and pushed the first set to a tiebreak, which he lost 9-7 in the tiebreak, and then lost the second set 6-3. He took on the number 26 player in the world. He's 638, and pushed him to a tiebreak in the first set on one of the biggest stages of tennis that there is. So this is a young guy that has a bright future ahead of him. Remember his name, Nicolas Arsenault, and I believe that with his performance here, has entered the top 500 of the world, as has Dan Martin, who emerged from qualifications, ranked 500 and something in the world. So some great performances by our up and comers here at the tournament. A lot to cheer for. We have a Felix Auger-Aliassime and Gabriel Diallo, who are slated to play today, I believe, still on the men's side. And then some doubles action gets started today at the tournament. So still some Canadians to cheer for in the draws. And of course, Eugénie Bouchard, who was on her farewell tournament. This is supposed to be her last tournament. She did win her first round match, so she'll be taking on Belinda Bencic later on today. Bencic is also one of the, I think, one of the top players in the world, ranked fairly quickly. So again, it will be ranked fairly highly, 20th in the world at the moment. So it's going to be a tough battle. But Eugénie Bouchard has just shown that she can beat the top 100 players even after being away from the game for a while. So who knows what might happen. It's definitely been an interesting tournament to watch, no doubt about it. So yes, some Canadians who make us proud, and a lot to cheer for. All right, kits and cubs, that's all I got for you today. Amour et bisous, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.